Good evening, everyone. Welcome to another edition of The Gray Area. I'm Mr. Bennett, joined by my partner, as always, Grooming and Reviews 101, a.k.a.
This is Sparta!
The Ghost of Sparta, a.k.a. Peter, a.k.a. Paniotis. Yeah, so my brother, what's going on, man?
What's going on, brother? How are you tonight?
I'm well. I'm well. Very busy weekend, and certainly had some opportunities to kind of extend beyond our YouTube space. So first and foremost, had an opportunity to meet one of the BMU members. Dave, if you want to show that picture, if I can present it. Actually ran into this guy. We're both from New Jersey, and I actually used to work up where he was. So so if you could just flash the picture, yeah. So me and the man himself, our pain, up in New Jersey, enjoying a meal together, breaking bread, and getting to know each other. And as you can see from the reference, so again, grooming. You know how big I am, right? I'm 6'3". So you can see, our being is a big. He's a very large man, for sure. I was like,
Dr.
man,
Time himself, you met?
Father Time. That's right. I met Father
Holy shit.
Time.
He's not
So
he's not dust yet.
absolutely. So me and him, so got a chance to meet up when he told me where he lived, and I was like, man, and these days, I guess since I'm getting older, I realize not to take time for granted. You think, oh well, people are close by. I'll reach out to him. I'm sure I'll meet him eventually. And I just reached out to him. I said, you know what, since you're so close, I used to work in your area. Hey man, let's just grab some lunch together. And so we got to get hooked up for Saturday afternoon, got some lunch, and got some lunch, and we were, so it was a good time. I know it's interesting because we talked a lot about actually just getting to know each other personally. We didn't get heavy into politics, and we kind of brushed up a little bit on it. But obviously, me and him, we're probably as divided these days politically as anything. But I think we were on one page at one point, and certainly he went in another direction. So we definitely don't agree on a lot of things. But just when we start just talking about just people, man, families, we got daughters, we got long careers and things of that nature, and just activities and interests that we were in. It was just good just to get to know the man, because a lot of times you be in these spaces and whatnot, and things get said sometimes and whatnot, and but anytime you get a chance to know the people. So again, meeting you, I think, has been a great value add to me, Peter, and also I think it also helped us to form a better product, quite frankly.
Yeah, I
Breaking
agree.
bread together, and so for the Gray Area show, for the Hangout show. Oh, shout out to you for the Hangout. Certainly last night, if you get a chance, go to Grooming's site. I did a retrospective on Godzilla. All right, so again, Godzilla's been around for 70 years, and so I did a retrospective on the series, and where they are now, and it's like 2024. We've had two Godzilla movies come out this year, and certainly they might have been amongst the most successful movies ever, especially on the Japanese side, because of they actually won an Academy Award for best special effects. So I mean, the movie really was good. In fact, I was talking to R. Payne. He said he finally got a chance to see it also, and he was impressed at how good it was. So again, just two old OGs. I mean, we're amongst the oldest guys in the panel, in certainly in these places here. So just two OGs getting together, and certainly looking forward to getting at it, to doing that again. And so it was good, man. So certainly I encourage anybody, if you, I know we're kind of spread out throughout the country. We got folks in Texas and in West Coast and Florida, Atlanta area, whatever. But if you do get a chance to meet anybody within the BMU network, or within these spaces where you see people on a regular basis, if you're between 1 and 2 hours away from the person, make some time to go see them and chop it up with them, and get to know people. I mean, people talk about, oh well, the problem with a lot of the internet and whatnot is like people don't get to meet each other, and I think they can kind of go hand in hand. I mean, obviously we met in this space, but
Mhm.
now it's time that you then take the opportunity for you guys to meet, and then take it to the next level. So get interpersonal. All right. So whether you start out with regardless of where you start, a lot of times it's like where you finish out. So certainly I cherish that time, and like I said, looking forward to seeing him again. But beautiful guy. long, distinguished career. And so yeah, but we got adult daughters, and we just chopping it up in terms of, yeah, man. So he's like talking stuff. It's like I know exactly where you're at. So just good to chop it up with him. And again, certainly just wishing blessings on him, and to be able to have that fellowship time. So it's good to have, and we need to hook up again. It's been a minute since we hooked
Oh,
up.
definitely we're going
But I
to.
know you've been, different jobs and different things you've been taking care of and whatnot. So again, once you get your stuff together, let's definitely make some time to hook up again. I'd love to have you up into my area, over to the house and the crib and whatnot. And I'm thinking, you know what, maybe one of these weekends we can do a show from that from the crib. And I think that'd be
Yeah,
pretty cool
I
too, to go
definitely
live
agree
and do
with you. I'll
something.
bring you some of my gear and stuff like that, and make it easier for both of us. But
Yeah,
yeah, that's what we don't think about. We're all so busy and thinking about tomorrow's project or how to make money or how to do whatever. But we need to stop and think about like that's all fine and dandy. But when time for us to kick the bucket and get in that and go 6 feet down on the ground, that's not coming with us. So let's
exactly.
enjoy the moment. And like I
Yeah, yeah,
literally
you
was
got
just
to,
talking
yeah.
to this. I was actually on my vacation. I just got back about a couple hours ago. With I was at CQ's and we were literally just talking about this yesterday. Last night was it? I think, or this morning. Like something ever happens to us, or the money all this we're working for is for
Hmm.
nothing. Really, think about it.
That's right.
It's
That's
temporarily.
right. That's
So
right.
let's keep that in mind because we forget
Yeah,
present in the
yeah.
moment.
But make the time for the people, especially for those you care about. And so again, you might have a
Oh, you
friend.
care about me.
I do. All right.
Was
Yeah.
that
All
how
right. So
all
this is
about
it,
it?
bro. All right. So bromance
Hang on.
moment here. All right. So this is our
That's the
bromance.
best I have for you.
This is our bromance, man. Yes, I do care about you, grooming. So again, but make time for people. Stuff you've been putting on. I'm saying, yeah, I'll get to them again. No one's promised tomorrow. And so certainly,
Absolutely.
for those who who you care about, certainly make that time to see them, or at least call them. I mean, we can text all day long and whatnot, but just get on the phone, hear their voice, and see what's really going on with them. But if you can create that space to do that, then I encourage you to do so. But again, appreciate you guys being with us for another edition of the Gray Area. Certainly on the screen, you'll be seeing our Cash Apps scrolling at the bottom. So again, we'd appreciate any help that you would be able to give us in the chat. But more importantly, consider subscribing to the BMU Network. I mean, BMU Network carries all different kinds of shows, certainly 7 days a week, and certainly Grooming and I, we find ourselves on some of these platforms, and certainly it's a good place to subscribe. So consider becoming a member of the BMU Network, subscribing to it. But at the very least, just when you come in, just click the like button when you come in. It really helps the algorithm. And again, just shout out to some of the people who already joined us. So again, Lost in Translation. Again, appreciate you coming through, my brother. And yes, it is certainly good. Indeed, iron sharpens iron. And I could tell you, as always, again, thank you for your support coming in tonight as well. And so again. Consider financially supporting the BMU network so we can continue to bring you this kind of content. And yes, right, Alicia, definitely. Always, life is short. Been a huge awakening since my camp. Absolutely, absolutely. And sometimes we see people on the wrong vibe. We see people at the funeral. But again, make that time to see them in the living, celebrate the living, give people their flowers when they're alive, rather than at the gravesite. So so that is just a reminder that we all need to be more mindful about that and not let the busyness of life to distract us from again the important relationships in our lives. So so a good time, and definitely looking forward to our praying again hanging out with him again. But tonight, again, Mariana, again, thank you also for certainly for coming in. Appreciate you being here. Absolutely. Thank you for the thank you for the shout outs, and absolutely, again, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and let's get into this. So again, I know this is sort of coming off the heels of the Olympics, but I know we're going to be talking about sports again tonight, maybe from a different perspective, but just overall, I just want to kind of get, I don't know how much of the Olympics that you were able to see, but what were your, I guess, initial impressions?
Actually, I'm
I
going to
guess
take this in a different
post.
direction. I'm going to
Okay,
throw a loophole, a complete
go.
loophole. All right.
Well,
So
go for it. Go for it.
we have so many sports in here in the United States. We have football, we have soccer, we have We got football, soccer. Soccer's okay, not that popular here. It's like football, but we have basketball and baseball.
Basketball.
Yeah, those are three major. Football, basketball, and baseball are the three mains for. But you know what is so different about sports in Greece versus here?
What is that?
The teams. Why do I mean by the teams? So
Okay.
you have different teams for different sports. You have the Jets only for football. Then you have Chicago Bulls only for basketball. You got the Yankees and Mets for baseball. Huh. Now, if I told you, for example, you see my grin already, so you know where this is going.
You've been
Is
waiting to unveil this for some time. I could tell already. So
yeah, if we tell you Olympiacos is one of the teams in Greece, is in every sport like basketball, football, soccer is the same team across the board.
Mhm. So
What
in
would you
other
say?
words, it's almost like it's a corporate structure.
The name is only.
Right, but I'm saying, but the same sort of corporate entity has teams in all of these different sports, and so the
Yes. So
the
soccer.
brand ID kind of goes across that.
Okay. So the two major sports in Greece is soccer or football. You want to call it
Mhm.
whatever you would like,
Mhm.
and basketball. So doesn't matter what team you are, or excuse me, doesn't matter what sport you watch. You're still under the same team. Is Olympiacos is one of them, Panathinaikos, Ike, and so on.
Right.
I'm actually going to look in the background now for that stuff back there. FYI, if I lose you guys for a minute, I am through a thunderstorm over here. So just give you guys an FYI on that.
Yeah. Some storms came through here earlier. Right.
Yeah. So you don't have to go. I'm a Jets fan. Okay, what's your favorite teams? On you look at people like what sport? You don't have to do that in Greece. You just say one team. It's Olympiacos, and that's it, or Panathinaikos. It doesn't matter. Is you only have one.
So given that structure, what is the I guess what is the structure or framework? So again, how many of these quote unquote teams then are there in Greece? Because here in America, basically every team, every sport is sort of independently owned and operated. Yes, you have leagues, but again, the owners are all independent. You can have an owner who may own multiple sports teams. So I think I remember I think at one time, I think this guy, I think Jack King Cook, back in the day, he owned the Washington. At the time, they were called the Redskins. I know they're called the Commanders now. But again, he owned the Redskins, and he owned the Los Angeles Lakers at one point at the same time. So I know there have been very wealthy guys who've owned multiple sports franchises, but typically it's all about private ownership here. And anybody can kind of get in. So again, the league may have 20 teams, 40 teams, whatever.
So how it's broken down in Greece?
So,
it's a league, no, team league. I believe it's called off my head. So that league is one. I'm gonna actually share my screen right now. I hope David's not sleepy back there, because you know how he loves to sleep on duty. Click the button. All right, hang on. I got my speaker on. Okay, so if you see here, these are like they're 15. I can be wrong screen. I'm looking at. So this is my mother's team that we argue all the time.
Okay.
So Olympiacos one is mine, and Panathinaikos. It's really rare to you like two teams. I am actually breaking the rules as a Greek, so forgive me, my Greek brothers. I am breaking the rules. But Ike is one that is where she grew up. Is popular. Olympiacos more like in the middle of the Athens area,
right?
And a little bit of outskirts is Panathinaikos. These are the two teams that are the most popular. This is in third place, and the other ones are like kind of drifting in the bottom, like kind of thing. Those are the three major teams you're going to hear about in Greece.
Right.
So the league will play any sport you think, from polo to swimming to soccer to except racing. That's a whole different category.
Right.
Car racing. Anything with a physical sport. I remember Olympiacos played the Chicago Bulls back in the day. They flew in London, I want to say. Obviously, the Greek team, they had no chance against the legend, Michael Jordan. Like he was the best basketball player ever lived. So
Right.
the guy creamed. But they
Some
give him
say
good.
LeBron, but that's a debate. I'm not saying it. I just like it when I like it when the LeBron and MJ guys just kind of go into it. I just like hearing that. So shout out to LeBron James though. But go ahead.
Are you done? Are you done? Okay, like I was saying, but let me ask you a question: did LeBron ever go play a Greek team or a European team just for charity?
I have no idea. He might. Yeah, I don't know what happens in the offseason with a lot of these. 'Cause I know that a lot of these guys play a lot of ball in the offseason. He may have. I have no idea. I can't answer that definitively.
I'm not sure that was a I'm not sure that was the NBA thing or what when they did that whole Greek versus American team thing, but
Mhm.
I found it very fascinating they did it.
Mhm.
Yes, you don't hear that often. It was actually a pretty good game, I thought.
So I'm saying,
So
was this before 1992 with the Dream Team? So was this before that time? Do you know what year that?
after it was after,
It was after. Okay.
yeah,
Okay.
because I was before the Y2K, I was back here,
Mhm.
so I can't remember what year it was. That's why I don't want to say a specific year. If I had to guess, I would probably say between 95 and 98. Between those 4 or 5 years. When that
Okay.
time I remember it.
Got
Can't
it.
remember
Got it.
point. I can try to look it up.
Right.
And but my point I'm trying to get to is so the league is it doesn't matter what sport, it's still a league. You're under the same league, same category. How many players you have, how many sports teams you have, all this. So
Mhm.
the league is not owned by, again, I'm not positive about this. It's not privately owned in Greece.
It's not privately owned.
No, it's state run.
Really?
So
Okay.
yeah, so obviously these guys are making pretty decent bucks, like they over here, but they're not killing it. They're not like making millions here. They're making a decent living.
Right.
Believe it or not, the professional players do camps for kids. It's part of their contract. They teach kids how to play soccer and basketball and everything.
Interesting.
It's part of the camp. So they have their own arena called Olympiacos, soccer, basketball, whatever.
Hmm.
I'm telling you right now, if you ever go to a Greek sport game, we're crazy motherfuckers. I'll tell you how. If your team loses and it depends how heated. One of the big values is Olympiacos and Panathinaikos, those two major players I told you about, the two number ones.
Hmm. Right.
They will rip the chairs out of the stadium and throw it at each other. SWAT team had to show up a couple of times. That's how bad it gets.
Hmm. Yeah, the fandom I think in Europe overall. There've been well broadcasts like brawls and whatnot. Baseball games and things of that nature. I know there was a few years ago there was in a basketball game. I think it was they call it the Rumble at the Palace. I think Detroit Pistons were playing. I think the Pacers, and there was a big brawl that got a lot of attention and whatnot. But not the stuff in Europe. I've seen a lot of these FC Manchester United games and whatnot, and they got the SWAT teams out, and they got the the riot gear on and whatnot. So the fandom definitely takes it to another level over there, which I never quite understood. In part, I respect soccer certainly as or football, association football as a sport, but certainly the fandom over there. Certainly, I've seen on more than one occasion it definitely gets radical over there as far as
It gets really
rights
heated.
broken
Really
out and
get
stuff. Yeah,
heated.
so for a lot of these games, so assuming like when these two clubs square off, regardless of what the sport is security or military or whatever is that required at these contests just to control the crowds or whatever. So I'm assuming this is like the biggest rivalry in Greece, sports wise.
I want to say yes, it is pretty tight, but when shit pops out, dude. I can't control that. Nobody can. Um, but it gets pretty bad at times. Um, I don't think that it is as bad as it used to be, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
It has kind of backed off a lot.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
so really fast. So in that game, Olympiacos and Panathinaikos played the Chicago Bulls. The score was Bulls 104 to 78. It was 1997.
Okay.
It was the McDonald's Championship. I am not familiar with that. Maybe you are. If you know anything about that, any chance?
Well, not in that context. I know McDonald's. I know they sponsored many basketball events. I know, for example, McDonald's typically sponsors a high school basketball sort of all-star showcase. Is like, so these are the high school kids, like the top, the McDonald All-Americans. They sponsor a game. In fact, it used to be televised on ABC many years ago. And they would, it basically all the stars and what schools they were gonna be going to. So it helped you follow their careers as they matriculated through college, and then some of these guys went on to go to the professional ranks. Not seeing that as much as I used to, and the fact that you just brought that up, it's interesting because one of the things that on our sports show, we have a one-on-one sports show on Wednesday nights. And we actually broached this subject several weeks ago when you had the NBA draft, how there's very little name recognition for a lot of these players being drafted. A lot of the guys are coming from overseas. But for the American players, you barely know them because, again, the college game in terms of being able to follow it's dwindling in viewership. In fact, this is one of the first years where the women's championship did better numbers than the men's championship in terms of ratings, because it's very difficult for you to follow a player because he is only there for a season or two and then he's going to the NBA or something like that. So it's but the McDonald's All-American game, I remember when I was growing up, it was always good because you would see these guys and say, okay, this guy's going to LSU. I remember watching Shaquille O'Neal in the All-American game, and he put on a show in that game. And, it was like, where's that guy go to school? LSU. So I became like an LSU fan, watching because, I'm seeing this kid, this freakish athlete. And so it allowed you to watch. So maybe, from the college perspective, maybe they need to put more attention on that McDonald's All-American or something similar to get people following these athletes. Because, again, I didn't know who these guys were, who were coming in. And like I said, international. And we even saw this in the Olympics, and the internationals caught up in terms of basketball. These leagues, Greece and Italy and France, these guys they're catching up to us. We needed a Herculean effort to win the gold medal, and but basketball is definitely leveled up a long time since 30 years ago with the Dream Team and all that. These guys are serious about their basketball now. So, but just I don't want to take it away too much from your topic. Just
no, you're fine.
The McDonald's game, I'm not familiar with that specific, but I do know McDonald's has sponsored basketball games and tournaments in the past.
So what I would say to the Olympic part of it really fast, this Olympics everybody said is a hot mess. It's a hot mess. There were too many question marks, and it shouldn't have been a question. Maybe cut dry in the middle. Done. But this one was played and they were doing a turn from 91, 92, 93, 96, and 97 NBA championship. The Chicago Bulls won. Being the Olympiacos in the finals, the Paris Paras. I'm not from that country, so excuse me if maybe I cursed something out by accident. I said it wrong. But that's what to me that was the highest game watched during the Greek. It didn't matter if you were Olympiacos fan, a Panathinaikos fan, Ike fan, or whatever fan you were in Greece.
Right.
A Greek team is playing one of the best teams at the time. I'll give you that, Paul. At the time, before you correct me, at the time, one of the best teams in NBA. They got that as well because they're on a different level, of course. So think about it. How often do you see that happening these days? Just think about it. Maybe you can answer that question, Paul. You're a more sport fan than I am.
Yeah, I mean, as far as drawing that kind of international attention, yeah, I mean, at the time, it would have been huge. At that time to have, the Bulls, they were already considered world champions. Now, again, I know that's come into dispute as of late, because it's the Chicago Bulls NBA world champions. But how can you say world champion if you don't play the world? So again, it's something that's come up in some commentating as of late, which is again one of the reasons why I thought the basketball at the Olympics this year was so good. That you could really say that Team USA really earned it this time. But
Hmm.
yeah, I can definitely see just that drawing power. But at the same time, it goes back to a question I have for you. So you're
Hmm.
saying that these leagues are basically state run. The
Hmm.
players don't necessarily make a ton of money,
Hmm.
but still the American sort of the capitalism that that is fettered here in America still has that drawing power to pull in audiences that might not have been even watching their own game. So if you're saying that the fact that you got this rivalry with these sports clubs or whatnot, which gets pretty heated at the time, but all of a sudden you got this international star Michael Jordan and the Bulls comes in and that just breaks all the records and the highest ratings and all that kind of stuff. So I think it definitely speaks to the power of the American export of its sports, of its music, of its entertainment. That even in Greece, which has a pretty rich sports history with a lot of these things that you're talking about, and you still get that kind of response. So imagine if today, if you sent like an NBA All Star team over to play Greece in the games, that would still be very that would certainly be very entertaining to watch, and I'm sure it would draw a lot of people into to view it. So I think that's just that's just the drawing power of the U.S. market that made that sort of thing happen.
I'll give you a good example. If let's say the Knicks, one of the most popular teams, goes and play Olympiacos or Panathinaikos overseas for charity event, let's say for argument's sakes, all right?
Hmm.
I think it's gonna blow people's minds.
Hmm.
Not only in Greece, any country. I'm not sure how they do it in the other countries because I haven't lived in other countries. From
Hmm.
what I know, Greek is like I'm gonna bounce off one of your things you just said. All right, let's say the World Series. How can we call that the World Series when we don't play other teams?
Again, you've had this one track athlete, Noah Lyles. He brought it up. Like he won the 100 meter meters in the Olympic Games, men's 100 meters, and he just brought that up in the past also. So like the NBA and NFL, how can you call yourself a world champion when you don't compete against the world? Obviously, Noah Lyles in an international track meet, he basically beat the best runners in the world.
Hmm.
So, so definitely, but that being said, the world also has to compete. So I can call myself, from an NFL perspective, I can call myself the world champion because where else in the world is there an NFL team? So if it just so happens that that world is only exists in the United States. Now I know the NFL, I know they're trying to expand their influence in the world. I know they play games in Europe, they play games in Germany, they play games in Mexico, and they're trying to certainly grow the brand globally, just like the NBA does. They play games in China and all these other places, and so they're trying to grow it. But until these other countries put the resources in place to actually foster a league that could possibly compete, that's going to be pretty difficult. And so, really the only sport really where you can say people compete globally, well, there's a couple of them. I think one of them is certainly track and field. I think as Nola was saying, certainly you do that. Shout out to some folks who came into the chat. Shout out to Cash Rain Mindset. Good evening. Good to see you. Shout out to Inania. Again, thank you for coming through as always tonight. Thank you for your support. And also Almanize 78. Thank you for also coming in and showing your support tonight. We appreciate you guys coming through tonight. But the only other event that really gathers global participation is soccer. In fact, if David, if you're in the back, if you can just show the slides, go back to the slides, and I can bring up the next one. So I put this together just before the show. So we talk about most popular sport by country, and overwhelmingly, if you go here, so again, association football is basically what soccer is. Okay, so if you look throughout the world, the sport that has overwhelming followership is soccer. Okay, so again, but the American sports, again, American football, again, pretty popular globally. I mean, people, from all over the world watch the Super Bowl. I think 1 billion people watch the Super Bowl globally. Ice hockey in Canada, obviously is like an Olympic level sport. A lot of teams in Europe, and I know the Russians. I know they were big in soccer, in hockey for a long time. But by and large, soccer dominates the sports landscape. Australia, they have their Australian rule football, and so certainly, the global landscape is in this arena. So this next slide here just talks about, again, the overwhelming dominance. So out of all the nation states, you got 155 nations where soccer is the preferred sport. But I think that's one of the reasons why, like the World Cup. I mean, every 4 years, why that event gets that kind of recognition. And in the States is weird because nobody really talks about soccer until the World Cup. So if Team USA, the U.S. men's national team, or the women's team, if they're in it, then I know offices all over the country that people are watching the game either on their computers or their iPhones. Or I used to be in we used to have a lounge, and they had TVs in the lounge, and we would watch the men compete in those contests. And so the reach of soccer is such where you can start talking truly world and that, but until people decide, like America, like there's only got one country, which is ours, where American football is popular. So where are you going to go, and unless these countries are going to really invest in it, I can't see it being there. So I don't mind calling the Super Bowl, or the winner of the Super Bowl, the world champion, because no one else is competing on that level. But if you want to talk about soccer, who's the world champion, then that can be, obviously, if you win the World Cup, I think you're basically considered the best in the world, or the world champion of that. Yeah, now I think you're playing on sort of on an even playing field. But it's interesting. The sport that follows after that is cricket. Now I don't know, is cricket actually played in Greece?
I have never heard of it played.
Okay, so I know it's popular. Obviously, it started in Britain, Great Britain. So I guess anywhere where there was like a British influence, a British Empire, those countries play cricket. So in the Caribbean, cricket is played. India obviously was ruled by the British for a long time until their independence in 1948. So again, they're popular, huge there in a lot of those Asian states with cricket, and they have their champion. And I know, again, guys, I work in the IT field, so if the cricket championship was going on, or India versus Pakistan was going on, all the folks in the office were watching the game. It was just like it garnered that much attention, despite that. But that's really the second largest following of sports in the world. But I think a lot of that has to do, again, with British influence, and even soccer, which from what I understand, I was actually trying to research that before the show. Soccer actually started in Britain. Now, there is some controversy saying that soccer might have actually started in China like 2,000 years ago. They called it obviously a different game, but certainly the motivation for the game originated certainly in China. But as far as soccer as we know it, started in Great Britain, and obviously with the proliferation of the British Empire, certainly their influence, carried a lot with it as far as its reach and therefore its popularity to the sport. So the question about World Championship, I think, is a good one, but I don't mind it even if it's local to a locale. Now, if U.S. Samoa or whoever wants to send a team over and says, we'll play your American football winner in a game, just like the Greek club played the Chicago Bulls. If y'all want to do that, I have no problem with it. In fact, there was introduced to the Olympics this year was a 3-on-3 basketball. That was a new entry for the Paris Games this year. And I know there's a 3-on-3 league in America. It's actually run by Ice Cube, and he actually wants to put on a game. So again, whoever won the gold medal in the 3-on-3 from the Olympics We want to actually have a game or a series of games or like a tournament style in the United States against the gold medal winner to establish who is the best 3-on-3 basketball team in the world. So I would love to see that if they ever pull that off. So if folks want to, again, put together contests like that, I think it would certainly give I think it would garner a lot of interest from potential viewers. So yeah, so it's, as far as your question, again, it's a good one, but I don't have a problem with the local sport calling itself the world champion.
I think that's a little bit of debate because, again, how is it a world champion when they're not playing the world? That's my argument. If you say
I
there
get
is a champions, a United States champions, I'll give them that. I'll give them the United champions.
right,
I'll be okay with that.
right,
Now, when the FIFA plays, there that makes more sense to me because whoever beats that it was every 4 years. Yeah, it was 4 years. I'm right.
right.
Every 4 years, whoever beats that whole tournament,
Mm,
yeah, I'll give him that. Even I'll give you wrestling too when they call themselves, world champions, but they're not world champions because you got all these all companies have the world championship. But again,
mm,
they're not world champions. They haven't beat the world champion. There's no
right,
tournament for that either.
right.
I have a problem
Yeah,
with that.
it's like I said, I think it's a good. I think, and again, I'm not pushing back too hard because
Oh,
I
I know, I
understand
know.
your argument. But like I said, but that's one of the reasons why, again, you do have sports. Again, gymnastics. There's a there's a world champion every year. Ice skating. There's a world champion every year. So there's all kinds of sports that have a world championship sort of that's run on an international level. There's international bodies that govern these sports that allow even martial arts, right? I mean,
Hmm.
you probably speak more to this. I'm sure there are global martial arts tournaments. I remember the Japanese tournament. There was this Kyosho Shinkai, all a full contact karate championship that was in Japan. But everybody from all over the world can compete. They had almost like an Olympic
Yeah,
style.
the War Martial Art tournament.
Yeah, so right, so they had like an Olympic style beginning. People will march in, the delegates will march in. There was a flag bearer from the country that was competing, and there was like 100 countries that were at this tournament to find out who's gonna win overall. So obviously, if it's in Japan, Japan won a lot of them because that's a source of national pride. Certainly for them. So there are sports that follow that model, and but at the same time, do they get the viewership? Do they get the sponsorship? Do they get the clicks that, for example, basketball does? Like I said, the Super Bowl, 1 billion people watch the Super Bowl, which for a sport that is solely in America is
Not anymore.
pretty.
Wait a minute. I'm pushing back on that because
What's that?
now they're going playing games overseas too.
They are, but I'm talking about just global view. Like, pick an American sporting event that garners that kind of viewership. I challenge any event that's going on in Greece or any of these other countries. The only thing that I would say that probably trumps any of those other things was probably the World Cup
I'll give you that.
of soccer and football. But outside of that, what other sport garners viewership like in the billions? There aren't that many, and like I said, the World Cup. I don't even think cricket gets that. Well, cricket may get it simply because I mean, again, India has 1.5 billion people in it. But outside, there's not that many sports that have that kind of following on a global level. Football, clearly is there, but for America to be able to export the Super Bowl or the NFL in general, in fact, they're trying to grow it. They want all these countries to be able to follow the NFL all year round, and they're trying to work out deals with broadcast networks in these countries to carry the game. I think that's one of the reasons why the NFL is playing games in Europe and in Mexico and whatnot, because they want to have a permanent presence there to grow the fan base and viewership. They buy merchandise, and they're trying to have that kind of outlay. So they're working hard to do NBA. They've been doing that ever since the '92 Dream Team. The NBA has been doing that, and that's why, again, a lot of these guys, they play. I know there was some controversy a couple years ago when the NBA, I think they were playing some games in China And I think LeBron and some of the other players, they kind of sort of spoke out against some of the abuses that might have been going on in China. And then the NBA kind of came up and said, look, I got to stop talking because we trying to grow the brand in China. China, again, almost 2 billion people there. We're trying to grow this bag here. So we can't have you guys talking out against China in this time. So then a lot of the players just kind of took a step back and say, oh, I didn't mean to say that kind of thing, because it's like, hey, you messing with the potential bag. China is still, for all their abuses or whatever's going on over there, that's still a major global market. And certainly a lot of companies want to play in that market. So they have to, so again, there is a political walk that you have to, take, if you want to have your product in those markets. I guess it happens in every business, but in particular, even in the sporting area, you do have those needs that need to be met, and certainly not a country that you're trying to do business in. They don't want to hear their country talk negatively about.
I agree with you saying that. Like China and Japan are the two biggest countries that watch our basketball, and that's a market you want to tap into. It's a business end. Let's stop and think about it. It is a business end of the day.
Absolutely.
Even with in Greece, with the way they the way they do is smart for that country, Greece, and the way we do it is smart for them.
Mm-hmm.
You can argue business all you want. We don't know we don't know the numbers they're running. We don't know it's a bits behind it. We don't know that stuff. But what we do know is, as fans, sometimes we go a little ape shit for this stuff.
Yeah.
Let's be honest. Like, I can sit there and argue all day long with you and like, man, these guys make way too much money in what they do. That's our personal opinion. And some people say, no, they make more than they make enough what they do.
Mm-hmm.
That's the debate you can also have. But you can also debate is the overseas part, like you just said. You see a lot of shit when they go over there they not might like. Because don't forget, here we have the freedom of speech.
Yeah.
And a lot of countries don't have that right.
That's right.
If you speak against them, like South Korea, I believe it is, you get put in bracelets.
Well, North Korea.
I'm sorry, North Korea.
You can't say anything.
North Korea is one of them. And not only North Korea, the other countries too. Russia is one of them.
Yeah.
If you talk against them, you're going to be put in bracelets. I'm talking about going to jail. I'm not even joking about it. You are not allowed to say shit over there.
Yeah.
So when we start playing other countries, we gotta keep that in mind. For not about the country, about your own safety. If you want to come home, keep your fucking mouth shut. Simply the way I'm gonna put it.
Yeah. You see,
and people
just play basketball. Yeah.
Yeah, just play basketball and call it a day.
Right. But I want to ask you about, again, going back to these sports leagues that you're talking about in Greece. Have there been, to your knowledge, players? So like I said, players. I mean, they're well taken care of relative to certainly to the population there, but they're not making like they're
not making millions like here.
They're not making millions, but have there been players that you remember that were able to sort of break out and become international stars? Maybe they stopped playing for the Greek club and they went and played for another league in another country, or maybe U.S. Like, because I was thinking about Giannis Antetokounmpo. So I know he grew up in Greece, and I know they say he played for this team. I'm going to butcher this name, but there's this Philathilikos, which is a semi-pro Greek B basketball league.
Okay, yeah, that's it's not a major league; it's a semi-league. Yeah.
Okay, so that wouldn't count under the club
league, no.
The clubs that you're talking about. But let's assume there was a player who was like really good, to the point where you had people from other countries, teams from other countries. So whether this person was a soccer player or a basketball player, and you even had U.S. scouts coming out to say, "Hey, I think you could play in the NBA, or you could play, in our leagues and whatnot." Is it difficult to retain that kind of player? Because obviously in Greece, again, with the passion of the fan base, that person would be very popular in the country. They would almost be considered hometown heroes in the country. But how hard is it for these players to ignore the pull of the foreign dollar, of the European, of the euro, or of the U.S. dollar, to come play. Say, hey, I could stay here and be with this sort of nationalized sort of sports league, but if I got a chance to go to America and just tear it up, does that happen often? Have you seen it? Are there particular players that you know of in particular who've made that leap? Or is that an option, or are these players good enough to garner that kind of attention?
Some of them do have that attention. So I'm going to speak for personal experience. If I'm making only 500,000 and someone comes to me and says, "Listen, you come over on this side of in my country, I'll pay you $1 million a game." Really? $1 million a day on paper? What am I going to sign? What am I signing?
So national pride only goes so far.
Oh, fuck yeah. Bro, we have people, other countries playing in our league. They're not Greek. Like, we have even African people. We have, so let me back up here before I say that, because I don't want you guys to misunderstand it. So here in the States, you get drafted. Yeah, doesn't happen like that. It's an open tryout. So when an open tryout opens once a year, you have everybody showing up. Anybody who thinks anybody. People who have dad bod from personal, like David comes out. You have BMU people come out. You got Poles coming out. You got these guys coming out. Like everybody comes out. I know David's shaking his head in the background right now. I know it already. I can see it right through the screen. So you have everybody and anybody trying out. The tryouts are lasted about 3 months usually, because when the season ends, that's when they're trying. That's when the trials are done. They go right into practicing and all that stuff. Camp, pretty much. Or they call it practice. We don't call it camping, Greece. So they go right into camp, and that's how you figure out where you're at during camp, where you place. So do you remember? I can't remember the name of the movie. It was with Mark Wahlberg. I always pronounce his last name. He was trying out for the Eagles. But it was
yeah. I recall the
same concept. Think about it every goddamn fucking year. Again, things might change over the years.
So do players have contracts?
Yes, they have contracts.
Okay. So again, if you are good enough to earn a contract, a multi-year, whatever, are you always looking over your shoulder? I mean, obviously you got to perform to the contract, of course. You just take time off, but is it?
So you do get traded like here. You can get traded and stuff like that. So when you're usually set when you get to that level. But you also have the younger crowd coming in too. People retire. People get injured. It's a lot of factors in the middle of this. So they always need players. Players are only a dozen. Let's be honest. They're not like like thousands and millions of people. Like, how many people are actually go for in high school they play? They think they're good enough and they go to college. Okay, not a lot of them make the college level. They get usually
it's ridiculously small.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. So then they got a college one. Then they can say, "I'm gonna make it an NFL." Okay, and then guess what? They don't get drafted.
Yeah, it's less than 2% per level. Just to give you perspective, so like the high school player playing, say, Division I level sport, like top tier, it's like less than 2%. And then the out of those who play professional, it's less than 2% that get drafted to, like, say, if it's football, for example, you play at a major. You talk about playing like at a major Division I school. You're not playing for Wyoming or something like that, like a major player. You're still talking less than 2% that actually get drafted to the NBA, and fewer still you got to who even if you get drafted, that doesn't guarantee that you make a team. So then there's certainly the chance that you get cut. So you're talking about the best of the best, so to speak, who are able to earn these opportunities. And that's in any sport. That's baseball, that's basketball, that's certainly here football. So the chances of you going pro in any sport is very rare, let alone having staying power certainly within that sport. So I agree with you that definitely the idea, the likelihood is not big. But certainly but if you put enough people through the pipeline, some of those guys are going to make it. And but I would imagine in Greece also, the fact that you don't have necessarily a formal drafting or recruiting process. So let's just say Would you say soccer outside of I know you said auto racing's big there. Would you say soccer is the most popular sport in Greece right
So
now?
the most team sport in Greece is soccer. So
Okay.
I can't really consider. I hate to say this way, but it's the best way I can say. The sport of racing, you cannot really consider that as a team sport because it's not. It's an
Right.
individual sport.
Right.
You have a pit team, but the driver does the whole team. If that,
Right.
I hate
Right.
saying that like that. That's the best way I can explain it.
Right.
So I would not consider racing a sport like soccer. There's a difference.
Right.
So
But
I
as far as
will.
team sports, soccer is clearly
Soccer is the number one.
gotcha, gotcha. So the process is, but there's not a formal like, okay, so let's just say you play grammar school, middle school, high school, whatever your equivalent
Mhm.
is. Are there recruiters from? Is it played widely at the collegiate level in Greece, or is it
You mean
mostly
college?
just clubs? Yes, or is it mostly clubs that may see you in high school and recruit you from there? I'm
It's
just
hilarious.
asking.
No, I'm gonna tell you why it's hilarious because as Americans, we all think about the same school system. You play in school, then you get drafted to a
Right.
college. That doesn't exist in Greece.
Hmm.
We don't have sports in Greece after activities. After school activities is an American privilege. Let's get that through everybody's head right now.
Hmm.
And I'm gonna get a lot of heat for this, but it is. It is an American privilege.
Oh, I
I
agree.
don't. I talk to a lot of people from other countries, and everyone tells me it's an American privilege. David, jump on here for 1 second when you get a minute, please. Because I want to get his opinion too on this. So it's a American privilege. David, in Africa, do you guys have after school activities like sports?
We do have sports. We
Okay.
have soccer, but we call it football. We
Hmm.
have
Yeah.
basketball.
Yeah.
We have track and field.
So the question is to
We
you:
practice. Go
to
ahead.
get to the professional level, do you get drafted to the college level, then the professional team like America here, or is it different over there?
It's more tryout. It's not really drafted. But you
Like my
mostly
country.
Essentially,
get,
yeah.
yeah. But the thing is, you get scouted first. Here's the problem. When it comes to soccer, most of the prominent soccer players get scouted for international team more than anything else because after the Atlanta World Cup back in 20, what year was it? Was it 2016 that happened?
Mm.
The World Cup in Atlanta, Georgia?
No, no, not what the World Cup. It was the Olympic that happened in 2016 Atlanta, right?
No, that was Olympics in Atlanta. That was 2000. No, that was 1996
No, that's
in Atlanta.
96. Okay. I forgot what year was it, but at the time that did Nigeria play, and they did very, very well. Ever since then, a lot of scout from international clubs, mostly from Europe, were scouted for
Mm,
Nigerian soccer players. That
right.
would be the big thing. Now, if they don't get scouted out, they go for the local or the professional league in Nigeria. They try out for that, or they fly out and they get sponsorship to fly out to do a trial. They do that as well. That's mostly in soccer. Basketball was due to Hakeem Olajuwon that he helped someone started some kind of league, but they had people get scouted to play basketball outside the country as well.
Hmm.
Track and field has been a big issue concerning the government to do it in home and do it outside as well. If we talk about MMA, martial art, either karate or judo, it's mostly done on the outside.
Right.
Um, we have ping pong, which is we call it table tennis.
Hmm.
What else we have? There's some other sport, but it's not known outside the country, only kept within the country due to tradition.
Hmm.
But other than that, that's about it.
Yeah. Does Nigeria state sponsor sports?
It heavily state sponsor a lot. I even
Oh, a
forgot
lot of.
boxing. Boxing is also very critical. Boxing is one of the how you say it, the cash cow.
Yeah.
They do a lot of sponsors, mostly state sponsors. But if you are a prominent fighter, I won't say it's state sponsor, but it's more higher up. If you say on the table type of thing, meaning
Hmm.
certain politician want to make money off you,
Hmm.
so to speak. Um, Wrestling. not so much, but it's there.
Right. But the soccer, since that's obviously that's
Soccer
probably
right
the most
now.
popular.
When I left the country, there was no soccer school. Now I just found out after I left the country a few years later, they quit a bunch of soccer school, which kind of like rivals out of Brazil. Because remember,
Mhm.
Brazil used to have an issue. One thing better on the national team, you could build actually 7 national teams out of Brazil.
Right.
Because
Right.
they got that way too much talent. It's
Yeah.
ridiculous.
Yeah.
And Nigeria's right with them right now. So Nigeria's doing the same exact thing. They're having a soccer school whereby you have young kids going to school that know how to play soccer, go to the next level.
Gotcha.
Which is,
So
which,
I would definitely say that it appears from what I'm hearing so far, just from these two international perspectives, and again, if anybody can speak to this differently, but it definitely seems like at least in North America, certainly United States in particular, but North America, probably more broadly, that the college system has always been, certainly for many years, a major funnel to the professional ranks. Whereas with
Bingo.
these other countries, they've had private clubs and different, entities where they recruit players, and it could be at any level, from high school, from young age, or whatnot. I mean, you have in a lot of these international leagues. I mean, you have professionals at 14 years old, 13, 14 years old. If you're talented enough, you could
Hmm.
be playing with grown people. So that definitely seems to be something that's very different about American sports versus these international, that again, you don't have that college pipeline that was developed here. There is no NCAA entity
that is
that
correct.
that operates in these foreign countries the way it does here, that governs traffic. Now that is changing. I would say I think that what we're seeing, certainly with basketball, again, we talked about this earlier, how with basketball, again, uh, professional teams are going elsewhere to find talent. And what's also happening in the U.S. is that you do have a lot more clubs, basketball organizations, where kids, if you don't want to go to college, 'cause that's the thing about it also. It used to be back in the day, when you went to college, you were a college athlete. Your college came first. Your athletics came second. Now and then suddenly, several decades ago, you were clearly bringing people in for their athletic ability. They said, look, I don't care if you get a degree in basket weaving, if you can help us win basketball games or football games or baseball games, then that's going to be the most important thing. And then they were, kind of funneling that line between, college and professional, or college players don't make money, and that sort of thing. But now people are saying, you know what, let's just skip college altogether. So with basketball, you have a lot of these leagues, a lot of these semi-pro type of leagues where the athletes get paid. Now, not a lot of money, but would I rather go to school and have to take classes, or play in a league that'll pay me $50,000 a year or $25,000 a year, but I'm playing basketball and I'm working on my game, and I'm still going to get the NBA looking at me, or certain institutions looking at me. So you have that going too. Now it's not going to work for a sport like football. I think college is so integral to the development of football players. I don't think that will ever happen, where guys will skip college to try to play American football. Again, every once in a while you hear about the guy. Like, I know the Steelers, they have a punter who played Australian rules football, but he could really kick. So it was like, so maybe there's some specialized positions where you may have a player who could make an NFL roster, but generally that doesn't happen. I know you had guys like, I know, Black David, I know you remember this guy Christian Okoye, they call him the Nigerian Nightmare, and he had very little. I don't think he played a lot of college football at all. I think he was just this freak athlete. Mutant level athlete who was able to make an NFL roster, and he was very successful. He didn't have a long career, but he was very successful with the Chiefs. He got to an All-Pro status or whatnot. So again, short career because of injuries, but he was able to make that transition. But again, it's very rare when you have that kind of athlete who's able to do that. Shout out to Catellia. says the most. No, well, Black David, you can answer this. Then the most famous player from Nigeria was Hakeem Olajuwon. True or false?
Right now, it's yes for a lot of reasons, but that thing about to fade away. And reason why I say that Hakeem Olajuwon was known because of the two NBA championships that he has won. Right.
Right. Yes.
Right after that, his status did not go down too bad because we had two Nigerian UFC champions. We have Adesanya,
Who just
and
lost?
he had no, he
Who
lost.
just?
Don't get me wrong, he lost on the tempo. When he had the championship belt, he brought it back to Nigeria. They put on Nigeria act on the, at the national hero, national celebrity. Then
Mhm.
Usman was another one as well.
Yeah. Yeah. He
So
was good.
because we had two Nigerian UFC champions, it was a big deal. Because of that, they opened up an MMA gym and an MMA league. They actually a MMA league due to those two individuals. So back then, yes, Hakeem Olajuwon was the most famous player. But right after that, there was other people who won the gold medal, but they won the gold medal outside of Nigerian national team. So it's a lot more than just that alone. I've
Yeah.
been following Nigerian sport for a while, and I know Hakeem was the first one. But right
Mhm.
after that, there was other people that piled on top of that.
Mhm.
The Nigerian soccer team, about 8 or 9 that were well known globally.
Mhm.
And there were the political issue that concerning how they were managing the team and the coaching that some of these players move outside the country and play for internationally, but never want to play for the country again. So Hakeem was not the most famous player, but he's one of the famous player out there. There's a lot of them.
Mhm.
Unless you were following Nigerian sport like where I was following Nigerian sport, you can't just say it's only one because we how would I put it? Nigerian special breed when it comes to athleticism. Whatever sport we get ourselves in, we go big. We got a couple of Nigerian football players.
Yeah. Oh,
People
the names,
forgot about that.
the names on the jerseys is changing. It's not Smith or Robinson or
And
Johnson anymore.
thank you.
It,
Thank
it,
you.
it is. It's like, I mean, you got to get. I used to think like Tiki Barber used to play for the for the Giants. Him and his brother, and that's not even it. Like Tiki, I think it's Edatike
But
something.
think about it. We had a
Yeah.
Nigerian player play for the U.S. team to win the gold medal this year. Adebayo.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, the names on the back of the basketball jerseys, the football jerseys, it is changing. And
So
and
we
and,
had
and
Nigerian
yeah,
play with playing American football. We had Nigerian playing basketball. We had a few Nigerian that travel for baseball. We
right.
have Nigerian that do MMA. So as much that people keep sleeping on this, a lot more well recognizable Nigerian athlete. The
Right.
problem is, unless they are following the Nigerian sport and these athletes, they got their own individual fan base. The most famous Nigerian soccer player, JJ Okocha.
Hmm.
That name
That's where I
ring
was going with this too.
ring.
So if you see what he's the trend now, Paul, like that's what I wanted him on here. He see the different trends from different countries. The similar
Absolutely.
trends. If you're
Yeah.
not following that country's sport, like I know the bunch of Nigerian, I'm sorry, David, I pronounced that
No,
wrong.
it's fine. It's fine.
It's they're playing in Greece and they speak fluent Greek better than me. Those little fuckers
And,
speak better Greek. Me, I'm
you
Greek.
think that crazy? There's a bunch of Nigerian big Chinese, but they're more Chinese folks right now. So don't be surprised. But the name I mentioned, JJ Okocha, is heavily known in Europe because he's one of those Nigerian players that actually embarrassed a lot of players when it comes to dribbling them. He was known for that. So there's many other Nigerian well-known athletes out there. There's some
Mhm.
in track and field. There's some in soccer. You got a few now in basketball. You got some in football, American football. You cannot, and you got MMA. So as the sport keep on multiplying, you have more options for Nigerian. You even got a Nigerian bobsled team. Like, hold on, there's no ice in my country, so why are they doing bobsled?
Absolutely.
You see
Yeah.
you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You get my point?
But it's,
Thank you.
but I hear what you said. Now I remember a few. I don't know if you remember David a few years ago. Freddie Adu. Now again,
Ooh.
he's Ghanaian, right? But I
Mhm.
know he was playing like professional soccer at 14 years of age, and he was supposed to be the next major global soccer
I remember that
star in the
name.
world and
I
and
remember that
everything. And he
name
was supposed
very,
to be.
very, yeah.
So I don't know
And
what
a
happened
lot of
necessarily with his career, but maybe it was too
for
much too
some
many
reason,
expectations.
it's concerning his age, and then a lot of politics in play
Yeah,
because he's very young. Now,
yeah,
it's not new to African players to have kids that young going national, playing
hmm
professionally. That what most parents was looking for.
hmm
He's not the only 14, 15-year-old kid that was doing that. There are many other before who did the same exact thing. They were
right.
able to do that outside the United States with no problem. But Freddie Adu came and knocked out in this country. The problem is they didn't want to build a team around him.
Yeah.
That's what the issue.
Yeah, he signed with the MLS at 14 years of age. He started for DC United in 2004. I mean, it's crazy. I mean, again, the game is growing so much, again, internationally, that it's and I think that we had the earlier conversation about, again, global championship. I think
Hmm.
really soccer is certainly one of the few, soccer, track and field, I think, are really the two sports where you can really make that claim and statement to say, "Look, we are the world champions,"
And,
because
and
again,
and not just
you're
that.
competing
There's
against
another
everybody.
African player I remember. He played he national in French, but he
Right,
started very young as well. I forgot his
right.
name, but he's international, heavy known. I think you know what I'm talking about. His face is known on the latest FIFA game they made. I forgot what it was, but
Okay,
he's from
okay.
African descent. But he
Right,
started very, very young and was
right,
okay over there. But
right,
here, America got too much politics and red tape concerning
right,
age.
right. Well, speaking of politics, now I got a question for you. Since we were just talking about Adesanya, right? So he just lost to this guy, Duplessis, who's South African. So the big controversy going into that match was that Duplessis was claiming that he is the true African, born in Africa, raised in Africa, trained in Africa, that he is the true African champion, which set Adesanya off, because obviously, even though he is of African descent, but he's raised. I think he lives in uh not I think New Zealand or something like that, or he was sort of born and raised in like So again, he's not necessarily connected. He may have ancestral roots there, but this guy's sort of laying claim to that. But what do you think about that when Duplessis was saying that, as someone from the
Now,
continent?
the reason why there was the I explained detail. The reason there was the beef between Adesanya and that individual because, for one, we know that he's from a European descent, right?
Right.
He's either third, fourth, or fifth generation, right? He's
Okay.
not
So that's
original.
but that's getting to my question. When just like we asked the same question in the United States, when does fill in the blank become an American? Right. So how many generations do you have to be, like, for my African brothers or for my Caribbean brothers or whatnot? I mean, people come here, they still kind of cling on to their national identity, right? I'm still not.
Hmm.
You still identify as a Nigerian man, but
Hmm.
what if your kids? At what point, or your kids, at what points do they consider themselves to be American? At that
Now,
point,
that's one
and
I
and
would
so
say is that's a gray area, and I'm glad you mentioned that because no, it's one of the biggest gray area. I got myself in a lot of discussion concerning that because
in fact, we may need to grooming. We may have to do a show on that. When in terms of nationality,
because
So next week.
when do you become fill in the blank? How many generations do you need to belong to the country before you can say I am whatever it is? So
with
again, and
that issue there, it's a double-edged sword because culturally speaking, for those who from immigrant family, either from Africa or from Caribbean, there is internal politics you have to deal with. If
mhm,
you are second or third generation here, there'll be a conflict whereby you gonna say you're Nigerian American, yeah. But the moment you go to your home country,
mhm,
you get the rejection because they say
right,
you didn't grow up here, you didn't go through all this, you can't claim. This is where the dilemma going back and forth. I know
right,
about the Nigerian counterpart, whereby you know your parents from Nigeria, and you second or third, and you went over there to go and visit, they won't accept you right off the bat.
So okay, so
But
what about Israel then? Is how is he? So again, he's of Nigerian descent.
he
How is he
no,
viewed by the masses? Is he embraced as a son of Nigeria, or
here's the
is
problem.
he?
I'll
So
make
how
it
does that
easy.
work?
At the time he was born in Nigeria,
Right.
father migrated to New Zealand when he was a kid for better education, right? He continued to in New Zealand. He lived in that country wholeheartedly because he grew up there until a incident happened a few years back, and he turned it back on them because what they did was very disrespectful. He only considered New Zealand as his home, his second home. So ever since
Right.
then, he left New Zealand, moved to the U.S. He's still a Nigerian because even though he grew up in Nigeria, he went to school in Nigeria. They never say he's not a Nigerian.
Hmm.
Once you were born in Nigeria and at a certain age you migrated out of the country, you're still a Nigerian, regardless. The fact that he went back and paid homage when he won his UFC belt, they paraded guy all over the country. Him
Right.
and Usman. Like whenever they come to the country, you clear where they
Right.
get
But is
special
that? But
security.
is that? But it. See, I get that, but I can also say that can be also very political
You got a
because
point.
the fact that again, if you're
Mm,
looking for recognition as a country, I'm like the heads of Nigeria, whatever,
Hmm.
and it happens here too, right? It
Hmm.
happens in Asia. I remember like for the Steelers, I remember Hines Ward, wide receiver for the Pittsburgh Steelers. He's half Korean, and for what I understand, in South Korea, because there's a lot of U.S. military influence. There's a lot of multi-ethnic children that are raised there, and they're not treated very well. Same thing in Japan. Same thing in the Philippines.
Oh,
You have these kids,
Ja-
these biracial
Japan
kids.
is very critical. I see
Yes,
documents.
very
I see interviews.
xenophobic in terms of how they treat these kids. But because Hines Ward was part of a Super Bowl winning team, and he wanted to visit because out of respect for his mom, he wanted to go to South Korea. They rolled out the red carpet for him. And so, so again, for Adesanya, or I was going to ask you about Giannis, you know. Now again, for one, and I want to ask you about this. It's his real name should be Adetokumbo, not Antetokounmpo. I think the Antetokounmpo is like the Greek equivalent, but the real name should be Adetokumbo. It should be his real Nigerian name. But again, if he went to Nigeria right now, he played for Greece in the Olympics recently. So how sincere are when they give you the ticker tape parade and they parade you around like, yeah,
Hmm.
Nigerians are doing this
Here's the
thing,
issue.
Paul,
but in the
Paul,
in
Let me
at
Paul.
the
let me
parties
let me let you in
at
on that issue.
okay.
There have been a 20 to 30-year issue when playing for Nigeria on the global stage,
Mm-hmm.
and there's a reason behind it. I was there for 7 years, and I saw what was going on. A lot of Nigerian athletes want to represent the country so bad, with honor and with pride. Problem is, the government is playing way too much game. When I heard how the Nigerian women basketball team then I got much support for the government, it was not new to me what all because they did before on the path to other
Mm-hmm.
athletes. This
Right.
is why a lot of Nigerian athletes are looking forward to get the sponsorship to be naturalized in another country so I don't have to deal with the shame of representing a country that have a highly corrupt government. You know what I'm saying? When you say what's totally correct, there is politics in play.
Mm-hmm.
Yet at the time went back, they rolled the red carpet. They want to get the publicity. I get it. Usman did the same thing. And Yana do it, they will do the same thing. Here's the problem. Adesanya, Usman are not stupid. They also know the hatred that plague our country concerning politics and sport.
Right.
Now, will they do anything stupid that will hinder themselves? No. Lucky for Adesanya, his father is there. His father is making sure that they don't play that type of game with his own kids.
Mm-hmm.
Same with Usman, father is still alive. The same thing too. So yet you are right. I told you that very, very gray area. It's very, very it's shaky. I have a good close friend of mine who's in track and field. Who I told him several times before I left high school, you need to find sponsorship outside the country. Him and many other people who was in track would try to do the same exact thing, but
Mm.
somehow the Nigerian government blocked it.
Right.
And so some of the prominent players in the soccer and the track were doing the same exact thing. They say they're gonna let none of their future generation do the same exact. You got to be careful, unless quote unquote you went outside for education. Then you can use that as a disguise to leave the country for education, then get nationalized, play for another team
Right.
or for another country. Other than that, that had been the case.
Right. Right.
Even I have an MMA background. I was trying to do the UFC. I missed it. I get it. I understand. But I understand why people were trying to leave the country and pursue sport outside the country, not within Nigeria. Because there's
Mm.
a lot of gray area concerning the government and their issue and their, how you want to call it, cop blocking.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the number one issue. I did
I
track
hear it.
for I did 200. I did the 400 meter.
Oh yeah.
Wasn't
Yeah.
that hard for me? I did it in high school.
Wow.
I ain't gonna do the 100. I'm not gonna do the 100 because the amount of stress you put on your legs,
Yeah.
it wasn't for me.
Yeah. It's like drag racing. You can blow up at the starting block, or you can blow up halfway down, have the car explode.
Mm.
Yeah.
So I get it. I understand it. But what I was not gonna do is like if I was doing it heavy and I want to go professional, I gotta be careful.
Mm.
Let's say I was lucky because my parents are out here, they're not over there. Unlike some people who parents are over there, not out here. They can't just sneak out of the country and pursue their sport dream. So that one of the issue with my country. So when I heard how they treat their own athletes at their most recent Olympic, I wasn't too surprised.
Mm.
This is an ongoing issue.
Yeah.
But I get it what you're saying. You don't know the nail, Mr. Bennett. You paid
Yeah.
attention to details.
Right.
So I get what you're talking about. And
Right.
Gumi is correct. It's about the money play, the publicity stunt.
Right. So that being said, so again, you had people who were offended at this MMA fighter, Duplessis, who said, "Look, I live in South Africa. I'm African. My parents are from here. I'm multi-generational here. I live here. I train here. I'm not going chasing after anything. So I am the true African champion."
And he had to be careful, to be honest. He had to be careful because we are saying that because South Africa had its own issue politically speaking, whereby
Absolutely.
right now they're on a microscope because of some of the dumb bullshit they be doing as of lately,
Right.
and it makes them look really extremely bad. So if I was him, oh, cool, you won the belt, you retain your belt, whatever, but be careful when you think you are real African because if you look back at it, you can't call yourself real African when your ancestor came there, uprooted a lot of people from their land, took
Mm-hmm.
their resource from them by force.
Mm-hmm.
You put one of their most prominent freedom fighter in prison because he
Mm-hmm.
spoke out.
Right.
After how many years? Then all of a sudden, then you got the monkey in chief Donald Trump got pissed off when the African government decided to take from the farmland. But yet you keep forgetting that it's African land, not European land.
Right.
He's still from European descent, but even though at the time had to squat to be just for the sake of the promotion,
Yeah.
keyword, yeah, at the time know the game. He know the game.
Right.
Just to keep things on the low, let me squat to be, let me be the bigger man because if you go too deep in it, that's another grave you don't want to turn into.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because he might be third, fourth, or fifth generation, but
Right.
he's not original.
I get you, but that's the question, because we actually talked about this, and again, I know we're kind of veering off the sports thing a little bit, but definitely next week I think we
It is
should bring.
sport.
We're
It's still
definitely
in
gonna
sport. It's just
we're
that
gonna bring
there are
right,
some
but we're
gray
gonna
area
bring
in
this
it.
up. But we talked about like when I did my ancestry, right? I was showing you guys, and I
Hmm.
was telling you how my ancestry changed based on the new results. So initially, I got up to 49% Nigerian, and then they dropped me back down because because the population. So whatever population was in that region where they took the DNA sample, the question is, were those like the original people? How long was that that population in there? Were they just passing through? Were they visitors? Were they foreigners
I I
within
I
that
get I get
region
what you're
or what
saying.
have you? So you're saying I'm 49% Nigeria. Are you basing it solely on the locale, or are you basing it on the where those people originated from? So
It
again,
could be two or the three factors. Either the tribe that was located in that area, because remember I told you the three major tribes are the
yep,
Igbo, Yoruba, and the Hausa, right?
yeah,
And there's
yeah,
other sublet of that tribe, they're like clan within a particular main tribe.
right.
Everyone want to study the history of Africa. Africa should be five kingdoms before it
That's
went to
right.
multiple
Yep,
countries.
yep.
I found out that part of my tribe was part of the kingdom of Benin.
Mm-hmm.
There were certain
Benny,
tribes that
yeah,
relate to that one, and it go
right,
long rooted.
right,
You could be part. I'm not saying you're part of the Igbo tribe, but you do have
right.
some features
But
of
see
the
now
Igbo.
I got Benin Togo. That's a major part of my makeup. So again, I can we can sort of manipulate the data and whatnot, but at what point does a person become whatever? At what point can how much of Nigeria can I clearly claim? But I can ask you the same question. Because again, if you're talking about if your folks, if you did your DNA, if some Benin shows up in there, then
You
and
correct. No, you're totally correct.
grooming
Because
said he's afraid to take the DNA test because he's like, what if what if some Italian in there? So the Romans they were hanging out there for a minute.
but the thing is,
You don't want to go there with that.
you open an honest question, because this is something that I've seen among my generation of African brothers too, are now going in deeper, and they're not addressing some of the history that was hidden from the textbook, that was
Yeah,
kept away on purpose, because there's a level of shame concerning what family lineage that is
that's right.
responsible some of this division.
That's right.
How you want to put it? Certain family are internally cursed because their name pop up. That way all the heat go toward too.
Mm-hmm.
And no one want to be the one responsible for exposing that particular heat or being
Mm-hmm.
responsible for that particular heat. You know what I'm saying? Because I remember a year or two ago, some idiot came on this platform and said that my people were responsible for the slave trade. And I told the uneducated buffoon, you know what trout is responsible for. Because it'd be disrespectful for me to come in the United States and not know the American history, and that's spewed out nonsense.
Right.
But yet we have weedhead junkie, buffoon, jackass, donkeys, gorillas come on these platforms, want to tell me about history of my continent, but have no understanding, no indirect knowledge about what tribe was responsible. You would say, "Oh, you responsible for the slave trade?" No, dude, go back to high school. We do your
Mm.
education.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
don't come and tell me about something if you're not educated enough to understand that. You just read
Right.
some book, but you don't know the exact information.
Yeah.
That's why I say I don't. I'm allergic to stupid people. Real talk.
Absolutely.
So why don't you stop looking in the mirror then?
Excuse me.
Oh, jeez. Rim shot. Rim shot.
Okay,
All
that's
right.
for another conversation. But the thing is, there is a gray area when it comes to doing that topic. But that's why I say people have to know the root cause behind it.
Mm-hmm.
There is a chance that you could be Igbo or you could be Yoruba, depend on what DNA trend they're basing it on.
Mm-hmm.
And people keep forgetting a lot of tribes migrate across the continent due to similar. It's that same thing with American Indian migrated across the country due to
Mm-hmm.
similar issues.
Yeah.
People want to negate history, negate fact, and I realize people do migrate due to condition, due to event, due
Oh,
to
absolutely.
what any
Wars. I
warring
mean, yeah, all kind of.
bingo.
Yeah.
China is a perfect example. We were all studying in high school about the multiple dynasties, how
Right.
certain clan got eliminated, wiped out off the face of the earth due
That's
to
right.
certain. People need to understand these things first. But when you look at Africa, no, Africa not like no boiling pot. It was a setup that was between five different kingdoms due to a certain tribe interfering from the European and the American, brought them up into multiple pieces, all for the sake of resources. Now we bring it
Yeah.
back to the fourth thing. like I said, there are too much gray area when it comes to certain nations, certain countries dealing with sport and represented. But at the end of the day, if we don't know the history behind that conflict, it's hard to touch on it.
Right.
That where I broke it down to you about the Olympics, today's Olympics that passed. No one know about how the Nigerian athlete was left alone. They had to do things on their own. So
Right.
it's not a new thing. That been it's an ongoing issue.
Right.
This is why
Right.
I was surprised when I saw Adebayo play for the United States team,
Oh
right?
yeah. And I
And
know
and not just him. The dude from Philadelphia,
exactly. I was literally about yeah, he from French, from France, did
and
not
he played for
choose to play for the French team, and they booed every time he got the ball, they booed him.
and you could see that,
Because he
right?
would not play for France. So in fact,
And and the reason behind it, he may not tell you yet. There's a
right,
great
right,
area behind that.
right,
So you got to
right,
look at that.
exactly. Is that and but I want to ask you because I guess since I grew up sort of in the Cold War, I'm a little I kind of miss the old days to an extent where you had a more national identity when it came to your athletes. Like the Olympics was basically it was like the Cold War played out in the athletic games. So
Hmm.
you had when you had like Team USA fighting, going against the Russians or something. Like it
Oh, I
meant
remember those
something.
days.
It meant something. I remember as a kid when I watched the
So do I.
hockey team beat the Russians, and
Woo.
people just lost their stuff. It was like, oh my gosh! I mean, I can't believe we beat the Rush. A bunch of college players beat this essentially a professional Russian team, but it missed them. Now it's like you see the Olympics. It's like everybody plays for anybody who will have you. You know what I mean? It's
You're
it's,
right
it's
because
almost like it doesn't matter. Like I remember this one British Afro British lady. I think her name was Merle Oddie. I think her name was, and she ran for
mhm.
Great Britain for all those years. She didn't qualify for the team. I don't know, it'd be like 2012 or 2008 or something like that. So she was like, but she still wanted to race. So then I
But
think Switzerland gave her citizenship. So I'm like, you see in the race, and she's wearing Swiss colors or whatnot. It's like, wait a minute, so you became a Swiss person to
and like I
represent.
said, they're the great area. But imagine, I can remember the time when Atlanta '96 out the Olympic. I'm glad you correct me on that.
Yeah.
When Nigeria won the gold medal at that time, it was an earthquake.
Mm-hmm.
But what it naturally made because when Nigeria was playing the soccer, the whole entire city and town was dead silent,
Mm-hmm.
and I was shocked. I didn't know soccer was a huge thing in Nigeria.
Yeah.
Everybody was indoor, either at the bar or in the house or
Right.
whatever. It was dead silent. Even though
Right.
you get to try to put a TV in a church, it was dead silent.
Right.
The moment they scored a goal, you could hear you could feel the vibrate, the whole earth
Right.
shake. Everybody was
Right.
celebrating. So when they won the
But I don't
gold
think. But
medal,
that's the thing. I don't think it was about the soccer. I don't think they were soccer fans. I'm the same way in that there are sports that I will never watch on the regular. I mean, like, I never watch curling, for example. Like, I'm like, I think it's the stupidest sport ever. I mean, like, what are we doing? I mean, you got these guys with these brooms and they're controlling these. I'm thinking it looks absolutely ridiculous when I'm watching it.
don't
But I
tempt us.
remember, like, I don't know, it was 2020 or 2018. It was Team USA versus Canada for the gold. And I'm in front of my TV screaming my lungs out saying, yes, Team USA. I mean, it was like when Team USA beat, because curling is like it's like hockey. It's like that's like one of their national sports.
Trust me, I
So I
get it.
think the idea that Team USA was going to actually beat Canada, it wasn't about the sport. It was
It's
almost
more
like
the
someone coming
national
into your house
and beating
and
you in your
taking
own
your
turf.
stuff and then walking out and be like, yeah, it
That's
was a
exactly how
it was
Nigeria
a
felt when
gangster
they
movie.
won the gold medal because everybody was thinking Brazil gonna win it or Argentina gonna win it or
Right.
Germany. So when Nigeria won the gold medal in Atlanta '96, it was a big deal. We not coming to your house and we took over. It was
Exactly. Yeah. So I don't think none of those folks I don't think were soccer fans or even knew what soccer was really. But that moment of people coming together, it's like David versus Goliath, and for
that is
them to
true.
take that on, I think that was more so the what drove the people together. But I mean, soccer. I mean, do you even know the rules? Like the thing, I still don't understand soccer now. It's like, okay, you're supposed to play for 90 minutes. but the game goes on for like the 93rd, 94th minute, and you're just waiting for this bell to ring. It's like, wait a minute, why are we
No,
still playing here? So
and
I still don't
the highlight.
understand that part of the game.
I'll make it easy for you to understand. The video that the rule in the FIFA regulate allow the referee use their own discretion, meaning you can give action. The max you can do it 4 to 5 minutes because sometimes the game can be a little bit too hot and you want to cut it off. And you know how the audience. Now, if you
Right,
think I'm wrong, look on the British League when they have the audience were pissed off with the referee officiating and they
right.
all came off the stand chasing after him. I saw that in South America. I had to
Mm,
laugh. I said, only sport that the people in the crowd would chase the official only happen in soccer.
yeah.
Every other sport, maybe
Yeah,
one or two,
it's
but not the
I've
whole
seen yeah.
crowd.
Well, let me ask you that then. From because Grumman talked about in Greece when you have these national games, these national clubs are playing. You
Mhm.
basically you better have riot police like available. Like we've seen some stuff in the U.S. I mean, like team wins the championship, they overturn a car or put a car on fire, something like that in L.A. or something. But the level of violence
That's mostly Europe.
that I've certainly seen in Europe.
It's not Greece alone. That's
No, I'm
mostly
saying
Europe.
Europe, Spain, Britain. I'm seeing. Look, you got
I'm
riot police literally running onto the field, to deal with these
good
folks.
because
If
soccer is heavily rooted. Of any sport I know, soccer is heavily rooted in Europe, like as if it's a tribal thing.
yeah,
Greece is not alone in this mess. You
right.
look at England, how you could see a whole town, they're all in their uniform with their scarf. Why are you smiling, Gumi? You know what I'm talking about. You smiling right there. Yeah, the thing that is
Yeah,
so
it's
ritual
crazy.
about it,
Yeah,
they had to get the riot police, the military police on standby just in
exactly. Yeah, yeah,
case when it's
yeah.
rival team because they know what it's going to be.
Right.
And you can hear the
I'll put it this way, Paul. There's a reason my parents said I was not ever allowed to go to any sport events in Greece.
Oh, it can be dangerous. Now, I'm sure the vibe is probably the most exciting vibe. Like I talked about last year, I went to Friday Night SmackDown, and I thought that was like one of the biggest vibes I
you
ever
went to
saw
Friday Night
in
SmackDown?
last year, last August.
Oh,
I went. I took my daughter there, and it was I had never felt that energy. While it was decades since the last time I went to a WWE event,
now
and
it's
that
worse.
crowd was so live, it was just unbelievable.
Now it's worse.
But I can imagine, again, going to one of those heated
Mhm.
rivalry soccer games where people get one, they get drunk, and that's one thing about WWE. I didn't see a lot of people getting drunk and smashed there,
Not yet.
but
Wait till Netflix takes over.
you got guys getting drunk at these games, and they're just ready just to go off. I mean, it's like this stuff divides
Um,
families. I've never
um,
seen. Now,
Okay,
what I
I'll put
want
it
to
this way,
ask you,
bro.
David, yeah,
I went down to Sherman right here, literally a block, a couple blocks from my house, to see Britt Williams, right? A comedian, nothing crazy, right?
yeah,
A fight broke out in a comedian show because they were too drunk because somebody dropped his phone and thought the guy behind stole it. It was a whole fucking. I knew a couple of security guards because they, I worked with them in other companies.
right,
So like, and when I saw them, like, yeah, they fought because it was a misunderstanding.
right.
Yeah.
But now,
So
some of these guys, I'm saying these soccer games, people go in with intent.
of
They're like,
any
look, if
sport,
we lose, I'm taking. And that the closest thing I've seen to it in the U.S. has been. Now I know Philadelphia has a reputation as a sports city of having very rowdy fans.
only for the
So like
Eagles.
that's what I've heard. That's what I've heard
Only
repeatedly.
for the
I know.
wait.
Eagles.
I actually lived in Philly for my college, my 3 years for college.
Uh,
So first of all, they think they're the best in the country. I did that
I
for
get
a
it.
reason, by the way.
Hmm.
I get it.
One,
Yeah. Go ahead. Finish your point.
two, they think their shit doesn't stink,
Right.
and three, they just don't know how to fucking lose like a fair guy like everybody else. I'm
But still,
sorry,
that's what I'm saying. But again, it
And
does.
number four,
drugs.
no, don't ever in your life say the Eagle sucks in
I
Philly.
have in
No,
Philly.
listen,
How,
I've
how you
known
how you
plenty of.
survive?
Listen,
I ran my white ass down out
listen,
of there.
David.
Finish
David,
the statement.
again,
I
we're
got a
in-
story to tell you guys.
Okay, but again, we live in the New York City area, right? How crazy if you are a Giants fan
Or Jets.
and no Giants, because there's no rivalry with the Jets. Again, you talk about the NFC East. So Giants, Cowboys, Eagles, and I forget the fourth team. Geez, I'm having a brain freeze now. But in any event,
Bulls?
What's that?
The Bulls.
No,
No.
it's on football. It's on NFL.
No,
Giants,
the
Eagles,
Yankees,
Cowboys.
Bulls are
No,
part of the
Yankees,
NFL.
Washington. I'm sorry,
no,
Washington. Washington.
Yankee and Boston Red Sox. Not even worse.
Not like the Eagles. I'm saying I've lost count of how many Giants fans have gone down to Philadelphia for a game, and they're either getting harassed or threatened with violence
I know.
just for being there in their jerseys. If you're sitting
I
in
know.
a section with Eagles fans, you got your Giants jersey on, it will not. You have to have some very tough skin because they will, again,
big
fights
balls.
have been incited
Mr. Bennett.
because of that.
Mr.
Now,
Bennett.
it doesn't happen the other way around. I've never heard an Eagles fan going to Giant Stadium or MetLife Stadium and getting the same kind of flack. At least I haven't heard it.
I know,
But
but
I can talk to a man, if
telling
you
you
went down to
from
Philadelphia, and the same thing with the hockey team, the Flyers, if you're a Rangers fan and you go to a Flyers game,
Oh, forget it. You're dead.
you're asking for trouble.
Mr. Bennett,
Yeah.
as a former security guard at the Yankee Stadium, I had to break up almost 6 to 7 fights between the Yankee fan and the Boston Red Sox fan. It get down real bad.
So
When I say
real
get
funny-
down, for some reason they make sure to put all the Boston Red fan on one. Like they, I don't know how they did it, but for some reason they didn't do it well. Because after the game or during the game, I found myself jumping from different quarter to different quarter, breaking up fight, and we was under manpower. I was like, I was put yo, the fight up on the top. I was caught out the section. It was that bad.
Mhm.
I'm jumping from not going on the stick. I'm jumping across, doing action Jackson, hoping I don't break my ankle. Trying to break multiple fights.
Now I know where the earthquake came from.
Another rim shot.
Dude, hang on.
Share your story, girl. There you go.
All right, I got one for you guys then. All right, when I was in Cosmo, Philly, so my dumbass white Greek ass thought it'd be funny to wear my New York Giants jersey right in front of New York Eagle Stadium, saying "Eagles suck, Eagles suck." Well, I never thought I could run fast enough in my life. My white Greek ass ran so fucking fast. I just saw the cops looking like this. And they did not fucking move. Like a cartoon. You see me?
No.
Then you hear
Yeah.
Mob
Yeah.
going after me.
I'm surprised they didn't
Wow.
shoot you though.
That's before
It's
Philly
cra-
became
it's-
really crazy.
Now, Philly, like I said, Philly's had that
Now, forget it.
reputation for a while.
Now
Phillies,
it's worse.
Eagles, Phillies. Again, I mean, they could be very vicious when you're down there. But that's the closest thing. But I'm saying, but I've never heard folks with riot gear on. That's my point. I use Philly as one of the worst sports teams as far as harassment
Yeah,
and all
but
that.
it's
But I'm
not
saying,
as
but
bad
still, they're
as
not coming
Europe,
out with riot gear.
especially England.
Brutal.
Either Manchester United and I think it was what other team? They're forever rival. They had to have
Yeah.
police, the SWAT, and the military police on
Yes.
standby. Because when these people
Yes.
come, it's like the whole entire town come along with them. They're all
Yes.
in uniform. When they get
Yes.
into the breaches, their voices shake the stadium.
Yeah.
So this why I say basketball, American football cannot compete with that type of fan base.
No.
It is very brutal. Very,
See,
very
with
brutal.
football, you gotta say, and say football. Football is a very strong sport in the United States, like soccer is overseas. So when it comes to some like Olympiacos versus Panathinaikos, they're rivals. Okay, cool, whatever. For some reason, Philly is on a different level. Like now, I know when last time you guys been to Philly,
Mhm.
I was there last summer, and I looked around. I was literally scared of my life. That's how bad it is right now in Philly.
Well,
I
actually,
went to
they're gentrifying a lot of it. I was literally in Philly last week. The show that I was running late for, that was 2 weeks ago. I was in Philly, and I'm telling you, they're totally redoing the area. So right, you're driving through this area, and my wife and I are looking, man, where does my cousin live here? But they are doing a ton of development within these areas. They are regentrifying that whole area, putting these sort of new 21st century type of apartment buildings up and luxury studio apartments. So it's a mosh right now. But a lot of that stuff is being, I think I don't know if they're doing eminent domain down there, but it's changing. I'm
may
telling
be.
you that right now.
It may
Because the place my cousin lived in, it was very nice. The way they're making these places now, it's like a hotel. Like you go in there, they have like a Starbucks level type of coffee shop in there. They got a full gym. They got
What section of
rooftop.
Philly?
I can't remember offhand. I was just trying to follow.
So
GPS.
South and North Philly is extremely dangerous at this moment right now.
Yeah.
So, if it's near Temple University, because I know what I think Temple University is like around North Philly. Am I right?
It's not. Yeah, it's not too far from Temple. Yeah.
So she's on the
there's a
good
lot of
side of
development
Philly.
up there right now.
If you go there, main Philly with the museums are, you're good. But North and South is a war zone. And I dropped the kids off there. There were from the national camp. There were counselors are dropping off. They have 2 weeks before they fly back. I looked at him like, "You sure you want me to leave you here?" He goes, "Yeah." I'll go, "Okay." Hopefully I don't see yourself on a milk carton pretty soon.
Yeah.
I literally drove a couple blocks away and I put gas in. I walked in to pay the guy. He had an armed security with an AR-15.
Mm-hmm.
And I have never seen that in New York, in the projects where I used to hang out.
Right.
And that bad.
If I'm saying as a New Yorker who grew up in a project, and projects is pretty bad, let's be honest, David, right?
Yeah, but not
I would, as a martial artist who's not scared of almost nothing. I'm that crazy. I'm not scared of usually anything. I was fucking nervous. I'm like, pump faster, come on, hurry. I literally booted it out of there.
Did a lot of news article about how bad it had gotten to Philadelphia that people had to get.
I'll put it this way, Paul.
At the gas station.
Cars were flipped upside down like it was a zombie apocalypse.
Yeah.
Potholes big as size of my car. I'm like, what the hell did I walk myself into?
Yeah, Philly had one down to shit. Sadly.
Yeah.
But again, they're doing a lot of, because like I said, we were literally on the same block where you had those old style, like if you guys remember seeing Rocky, like where he lived,
that's
like
a good side of
those
Philly.
homes, like houses like tight knit, a lot of stuff's being taken out, and they're putting up these 5, 6, 7-story luxury apartments. You need hand security to get in. So how to get in? You put your hand on the sensor to get in. You got to use a hand sensor to get on the elevator. The elevator won't work unless you put your your handprint on there, and that's how the elevator opens or whatnot and get you to your floors or whatnot. But again, a lot of these places, they look like hotels, but it's like literally like you can look out from where she's at, because we were like, where do you live? And then I turn around and I see this nice looking building, and there she is. And my wife and I are like, wow, this is, but and like I said, the whole area they're redoing. But yeah.
But again, Paul, you keep forgetting you're in the nice side of Philly. If you went to South or North, you will have a different conversation right now. You will look at your wife like, I need a firearm. And I know you're not a big firearm person. You will be asking for one.
I don't doubt it, but I'm saying just with progress the way it is, it's happened in New York. It's going to happen there also. They're going to be building again. Money is getting into these areas, and people are investing in a lot of that. What you're saying is like I said, it's going to be, they're going to eminent domain a lot of those areas, and those people are going to be put out. Same thing happened. Harlem used to be dangerous back in the day, but then again, once they did that Renaissance in Harlem, they put up all those nice buildings. When Clinton put his office building in Harlem, a lot of that stuff that where Harlem is, all that stuff went out. So again, I'm just saying, give it time. I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm just saying give it time, because again, just the demand for housing is such where people are taking action to get people out of these areas. So I'm just saying I'm just seeing more and
Now
more
they're
of
just
that.
gonna push them in a different area. They're gonna trash in a different area. It's gonna be
Absolutely, but I'm just
there's gonna
saying
be a
the
repeat
traditional
and a repeat
areas that
and a repeat.
yeah, I'm just saying like South Philly, what you're talking about. Give us some time. If they decide, look, we want to build up, we want to reshape this area, folks are gonna get moved out. That's been happening in city after city in this country. But just back to the sports, certainly the sports scene in Greece. So you're saying
Mhm.
that these leagues, they're state run.
I think so. I said I don't remember correctly.
Okay,
I think
but it's multiple teams that
so.
are without. So
Under one
so
umbrella.
you can't be a club fan of a basketball team and then another a fan of another team from another club, even if it's
It
a
really
different sport.
doesn't work like that. Most people
Right.
like it like, okay, so I like Olympiacos. So you can be under the same umbrella or same club, whatever you want to call it.
Hmm.
So is just remember so you don't have 100 different jerseys and different players of that.
Right.
Like stats, this doesn't exist in Greece. Maybe now it is, but
What do you
back
mean
then,
stats don't exist in Greece?
like people don't care about the stats. They care how you perform that day. They might know the
Really?
player's name. That's it. Yeah. They back then I'm talking about. Now it's different, obviously. It could be different now, but I don't think so. Because
Gotcha.
last time I
Yeah.
talked to George, one of my best friends in Greece, he says, he didn't mention about stats or anything about teams. But when it comes down to, they look at how are you as Mr. Smith or Mr. B or Mr. whatever, player, number 42, number 23, you play that day. They care about performance more than anything. I'm like,
But is there
like,
a discussion about who's the best? What do you base
yeah,
that on?
simple. Play your best every single game. You can't have a bad day. You get paid way too much to have a bad day. You should
No, I'm
never
saying
have a bad day.
comparing players. So let's just say you're a fan of I'm sorry, what's the team again? Of the
Olympiacos.
league? Obia
Olympia. That's the name in English. Olympia.
Olympia. Okay, so you're a fan of Olympia.
Mhm.
There's a player on, let's say, the basketball team, right?
Okay.
That's part of that. And you think that player is like the best in Greece. Now you have another club that has a basketball team that has a player. And that another person, let's say if I follow that team, and I say, well, that guy's clearly the best player in Greece. How do you compare your player and the player that I'm talking about? So I would think part of it would go based on stats or on championships or on some sort of measurable to say, okay, yeah, well, yeah, your guy's good, but mine is better because look, he scores more points per game, more rebounds per game. They have a better winning record. They have usually when it comes to sports debate, when it comes to assuming that kind of debate happens in Greece.
Oh, it happens. Again, it goes
Okay,
and blows.
so you have to have an objective measure of how to to measure. Now again, I get it, stats on everything. Like I said, the whole Jordan LeBron debate. You could say LeBron leads Jordan and all these. He's the all-time leading scorer. He has all these accomplishments and accolades that Jordan doesn't have. It still doesn't tell the story, but it's still part of the argument.
Same
Now,
thing with
everyone
Tom
would say
Brady.
Jordan is
People
still
think
the
he's the number one football player ever. I don't think he's a moron personally, but that's my personal opinion.
right. But again, it's the same thing. He has a lot of what makes Tom Brady. Again, his stats: Super Bowl wins, or championships, his passing yards, his record, his overall winning record. People bring that to bear when you're talking about, especially when you talk about the greatest of all time. They talk about him, they talk about Marino, they talk about Joe Montana, but a lot of those arguments are stat based. Some of it I will agree. Some of those things don't. People talk about the eye test. Like if you saw two players in a different era, and you could just say, just looking at how they play, just in live action, you just think this person is better. Now, again, some of that could be your own bias because you like the player, but some people go to that argument as well. But stats are a part of it. Now, let me ask you this then: given how important stats are over here, if you're saying stats are not as important in Greece, is sports betting a thing in Greece? Is there
Oh my God,
organized
it's humongous.
official sports betting? So
It's humongous.
again, a lot of that though is based on stats. So that might be
They
a new
don't.
thing you said
They
back
see the
in the
thing. They bet on the team. The team is more important to anybody there in Greece versus the stats or the player. Like that's why a lot of jerseys you buy don't have players' names on it.
Mhm.
Because we don't know how long he's going to be there. He might be traded,
Wow.
or he might be, get a different contract at a different country, and he skip says, "Listen, I'm breaking my contract. I'm out of here. I'm going to Africa because of more money. I'm going to Ireland or wherever he goes." But what I'm saying, that's the team. The team who went is more important to a Greek fan versus the player.
Mm.
The team is more important. Like, you know how, okay, we're just talking about the Eagles, the Jets, and the Giants, all those, and those couple teams. I don't really care. Maybe it's my Greek mentality. I don't care who's a quarterback half the times.
Right.
On the stats, I care how the team performs that day and how many W's we get. If we're getting Super Bowl and win that W, we did our job.
I could feel that. Yeah, I mean, I'm a lifelong, Pittsburgh Steelers fan. Again, whoever our quarterback is, that's our quarterback. And so I definitely agree. I'm definitely much more of a team oriented fan than an individual fan. The only exception is individual sports. Like in boxing, I was a Mike Tyson fan, or a tennis player, or a golfer, or whatever it is. So I get that when it comes to team sports, you basically root for the team, not necessarily the players, because again, the players can switch off at any time. That I get. But certainly in America, certainly with the proliferation of sports betting the way it is now, everything is based. Certainly you have the team stats, but also on individuals. You can even bet on how an individual will perform on any given day.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just wondering if that ever becomes a thing in Greece where sports betting. Now, has sports betting always been legal in Greece? Because I know in this country, it only became legal relatively recently. I mean, there was always been sports betting, but a lot of that stuff was illegal.
Legal. Who said it was legal in Greece?
What's that?
Who said it was legal in Greece?
I'm asking you if it's legal.
It was
I'm
not.
saying
Last time I checked, it was
in this
illegal.
country,
Do it
sports
like
betting was mostly, as prolific as it was mostly illegal, except in certain states like Las Vegas or whatever, where you can have, betting. But for the most part, in the last maybe 15 years or so, is where state by state they understood, hey, this is a revenue stream for us, and they allowed sports betting. So now, especially with all the online sports, betting sites and all that kind of stuff, and you can bet on the most minute of stats. So it's generally
you can't even bet on WWE now that they know the outcome.
Yeah, I mean but people can bet on sport DraftKings and all these online, even on professional wrestling you can bet on now.
That's why I said.
Yeah, so I'm saying it's so will Greece follow in terms of allowing? And now you're saying currently you don't know if it's if it's illegal there. But will they follow at some point? Will they follow at some point to really just open it up and allow people to bet not only on teams but also on players? And if they
gambling in Greece is not really a big thing. So because the most of gambling you see is like scratch off and the lottery. That's the most you see. Casinos, there's not really a thing there. It's casinos.
Really?
So yeah, again, that could have been changed in the last couple of years since I've been there. It's been a while.
Why do you think that is? Because it seems like anywhere where they put casinos,
it blooms.
What's that?
It blooms business.
Yeah. So yeah. I'm just saying. So why wouldn't the government or the state or whatever? Again, I'm not familiar with the structure. Why wouldn't they allow gambling? Do they think it's a social ill? Generally.
I think they can't figure out how to tax that correctly.
Because I know the church, and again, I'm not sure what the Orthodox Church, what their business with government is or whatever, or the influence that they have. So I don't know, is there an official church position on gambling that has sway
over and politics go hand to hand with
right.
religion?
Okay, so again, as far as the Orthodox Church,
Yeah.
their stance on gambling is that's like a big no-no.
Yeah, that's
Could
what I'm
that be a
assuming. I got
reason
to ask
why?
Father Costantino, to be honest with you, because
Yeah,
that's
I
something
would
I
want to
don't
know
want
that
to.
also. Yeah.
I don't want to comment for sure till I actually get the
Okay,
information
that's fair.
correctly,
That's
but
fair.
I will get the information for next week and let you guys know. But I think it's a combination of taxes, number one, because Greek government like taxing every little thing. We have property in Greece, like I mentioned before.
Hmm.
We get taxed 6 times a year. That's how bad the taxes are. You get
Yeah.
taxed for everything. You get taxed on food. We don't get tax food here. Clothing, we get taxed on that. Taxis, anything you can think of, we get taxed on. Even Uber Eats, for example, food delivery, you get
Right.
taxed on that. So you get taxed for buying it and for delivery fee. You get twice taxed. So I think it's more a tax thing. Now, how are you going to tax the winner who's taking that money and going home? I won $1,000
Well,
euro.
that's what I'm saying. If you opened up just like they do here, you have online websites,
Mhm.
you have casinos, right? So again, if you win at a casino, you cash out, you
Mhm.
go to the booth and say, here's my ticket, pay me my winnings. They take your taxes basically right there. So I'm just saying, so there are ways if they truly legalized gambling, especially sports betting generally, but you can only bet through these entities, whether it be an online website or it be a localized casino or something like that, then you can certainly get your taxes from there. And again, if it's in the people if you think the people will like it. Now again, that's why I was asking you about the church, because if the consensus is that gambling's bad, I should stay away from this or whatever. If you don't think it'll be popular with the Greek people, then it makes sense not to do it. But if you think this could potentially be a cash cow, not only for the people who open up the casinos or the betting sites, but for the government, because now you have another tax revenue stream, then wouldn't they you would think that would soften people up to wanting it to happen, because like I said, in this country for a very long time they did not want online gambling. They didn't want casino. They didn't want a lot of these things that are now commonplace, because the reality was, especially I remember with what was it, they used to call it the stat type of betting. I mean, they were doing that in offices for years. Just people starting their own league, starting their own thing, in the office, betting pools and stuff. They were doing that forever. So I think people finally just said, you know what, this is stupid not to get some money from this.
I actually remember that myself, because I remember like throwing a couple of bucks here and there just for playing like we had a piece of paper and different numbers on it, and we just rip it off here. There's yours, here's a dollar here. And I mean, how many blocks you want? And like 5 blocks, here's $1 a piece kind of thing. So it was always for fun, nothing crazy. But I think you're right. They got into it also because they were losing a lot of money. They left a lot of money on the table. Just fuck this. We're taking the money now. And now if you get a promo card, you get like a first month free, and you get all this money. They lock you in.
Yeah,
they know how to lock you in.
Yeah.
So
fantasy, that's what I was talking about. Fantasy betting was there. I remember like in the 90s, people were doing fantasy. And that's the first time I heard of it, but I just never got into it. But I'm just saying, but fantasy certainly changed how people followed sports. So I'm really interested in is if they allowed some sort of fantasy betting where you bet on players or teams or outcomes or whatever, would that change how Greeks consume their sports, from being a very sort of nationalistic with their following their clubs to saying, screw the clubs. My favorite basketball players in one club, my favorite soccer players in another club, my favorite basketball players in another club, and I'm just going to spread my money around, and I'm just going to, operate in that fashion. I wonder how it would affect the fellowship of those clubs, because people would start to look at sports differently, in that forget the team, I follow the player. Like that, even growing up, it was definitely much more team based. I like the Celtics, I like the Knicks, I like the Lakers, I like the Steelers, I like the Giants. Now it's like, yeah, well, I'm a Celtic fan, but I love LeBron James. Like, that didn't happen. That would be like me saying I'm a Celtics fan, but I like Magic Johnson. You would get ridiculed if you mentioned that you like that, or vice versa. If you were a Lakers fan and you say, yeah, I like Larry Bird, you would be ostracized. It was that passionate base. Now people can understand that, yeah, my team is this, but my favorite player is this. They're like, how could you, back in my day, how could you say that? He plays for the enemy. How can you say you like that player? It's very different now. In fact, I know people now, I ask them, just meeting somebody, I'll just ask, so who's your favorite sports team? Oh, well, I don't have one. But I like LeBron. I like Steph Curry. I like this player or whatever. I hear that so much, especially from younger people. But for me, growing up diehard, I got Pittsburgh Steelers merch all over, and you've seen my gym. I mean, I got, I'm just that fan. When football season starts, I'm wearing my gear. I am a Steelers fan. But for some people, they'd rather just wear the jersey of the player and not the team. So I think definitely with younger people, I think they definitely have moved away from just following a team just blindly and following certain players. And I would think if betting went to Greece in that fashion, I think, you may see a decrease in followership of the clubs, and people would start thinking more about the players. And
I think I agree. I actually agree with you 100%.
Right. And I can potentially put more money into the player's pocket, because now that the player, he can build a following. So again, if you talk about influencer, Facebook, Instagram, social media, more sponsors, more advertiser for that particular player. So he can make, if the cap on that player from the league is 500,000, he might be able to double it in sponsorships and endorsements and things like that, because again, more people are following the player more so than the league. So I think that can definitely be a powerful tool. But will the Greek government eventually wind up doing that? I think it's, to a degree, I think it's inevitable. I think sports betting, especially in America, it's here. I got a feeling it's going to proliferate, and it wouldn't surprise me in the next 5-10 years, you're going to have legal sports betting in Greece, and you can bet on players, and that's going to change the whole way how that population consumes their sports.
I agree 100%. I am not going to argue when you're right. So that's 100% right, because I think it will actually help the country more than anything.
Yeah.
Because a lot of it goes back to the government. And think about how much taxes you're going to get out of, like, a person wants like $6 billion. He only walks away with $1 million because all the taxes he gets nailed with.
Yeah.
So I agree with you.
But man,
getting top of the line, you want to finish out?
Yeah, man. I mean, it's been certainly a very interesting discussion, and thank you for taking it in this direction. I was thinking initially that we were going to go in a different direction with that, so I really appreciate you steering in that direction, as you always do.
Curveball, like always.
So you have to spike the football.
No, it was a curveball.
You are the worst. You are the worst winner. You're a sore winner.
I'm not a sore winner. I'm actually.
Sparta!
But way to go in terms of steering this discussion tonight. Thank you again, Black David, for certainly contributing. And but I'm definitely looking forward to the show next week. So we're saying next week we're going to be talking about, again, nationality.
Mm-hmm.
When does a person become truly a national of that particular country? How many generations? How many years do you have to put in to sort of stake your claim to the country? Or
get one of these.
If you've been away from the country of your origin for a certain number of years or generations, how should you be perceived in that particular country? So I don't know, Grooming, when you go back to, is there a derogatory term that they have for Americans in Greece? Is there Yankee?
Yeah, they call you a goddamn American.
Okay, all right. So
that's like saying the N-word to American in Greece.
Okay, so the chances, again, I don't want to take too much away from that conversation next week, but again, so you go to Greece today, the likelihood of someone calling you that is
very high.
Okay. So
and you know what they're gonna get from me? You get 2 of these in return.
So let's say that let's say that let's save that for next week's discussion. But yeah, but I'm definitely looking forward to that conversation. So for those who, especially if you're been born in another country or whatnot, we really like to get your perspective as well. And David, certainly we want you in that conversation too, in terms of
Would suggest
yeah,
other African and Caribbean people who may have a deep level understanding of the history of their country to go to be our auto part of the conversation, because it's better to add more depth into that.
absolutely.
Because I can only add so much from my tribe and level of understanding. Again, many prestige. I will give a shout out. Please come over
Well,
on this
yeah,
side next
do
week.
me a favor if you because I don't have their contact information. If you have their if you want to reach out and see if they'd like to be a part of that
I would do that.
conversation,
I would do that tonight.
I would
and tomorrow.
appreciate that. Yeah, yeah. The more
And also,
more the
maybe we
merrier.
should drop the link next week too. I have an open channel.
Right.
Yeah, because when you mentioned about the nationality, that is a very deep gray area. I think that needs to be touched a lot of areas, because it's not only affecting people here in the U.S., but affecting a lot more people outside the country. Because
Right.
there's a political aspect of it, and there's a cultural aspect of it that I think we need to address and figure out and understand.
Absolutely.
Not only the history, not only the culture, but the plight behind it. Why it is such a thing like that,
Yeah.
so to speak. When you
Awesome.
mentioned Adesanya and that individual, I remember when the beef first started, it was really nasty.
Yeah.
And they squashed the beef after, even though he lost because he made a stupid mistake. I didn't get to watch the fight, but I thought it would be real hostile because it was going on for a good while.
Yeah, we are. Yeah.
So I'm glad you brought up that topic. I think that is a very interesting topic to touch.
Okay.
I think people are not prepared for it, or I think people need to be educated on it.
Okay. Well, let's touch base. We'll communicate during the week. You let me know what feedback you get from those guys. I'll certainly be searching out some folks too who might want to be a part of that discussion. Grooming, you do the same.
Yeah,
and,
of course.
Let's see if we can and we can definitely open up the show next week if people want to join that conversation. I think that could be a very fruitful one. So yeah, so that's all I got. But again, good show as always, and so I'll turn it over to you to close this out.
All right. Sports and Greece are completely different than American sports. So
Yes.
if you're looking to actually watch some, the one thing I don't want to leave you guys off, the guy who talking, the what they call the narrator, right? The sports guys.
Well, the commentator or the
Greek
play-by-play guy.
commentator is the most boring fucking thing you've heard. It's not like like here they're excited. Oh my god, he got a touchdown! Look. Nothing like that. He can pass the ball. Now he has the
So when a goal is
goal.
scored in soccer, no one says goal.
This is how
No
to
one
say
does it?
goal. Goal. I went, my dude. I'm
Wow.
gonna shove it, drone up your ass and shove it and make you scream. Okay, they don't get excited
I'm
about
gonna
it.
do some research. I find that hard to believe, especially now, because especially that. And the great thing, I've heard a lot of international calls from these guys that really take it over the top. So it would shock me as expressive and colorful in language as the Greek people are. It would shock me that in a major soccer game that you don't have some personalities out there. So I would, I'm gonna do my own research and see if I can find some Greek podcast.
Don't forget, I'm talking about when I grew up too. Remember that.
Yeah,
Keep that in
so
mind.
I'm gonna look some guys up
Yeah.
because I just find
So-
it hard to believe. But
Except that, Paul, you want to finish it out?
yeah, so again, and once again, we thank you guys for joining us on the show. Appreciate you guys coming out. Thank you to the chat as always for the support. Thank you to Lady Navoa, always backing us up in the chat. Hunting Wisdom, again, thank you once again for for what you do. Trey Ferg, my man, I'll see you on Wednesday for the one-on-one sports show. But having said that, I am Mr. Bennett. He is Grooming and Reviews 101, a.k.a.
Sparta!
That goes to Sparta, a.k.a. Peter, a.k.a. Pontius. This is the gray area. Guys, have a great weekend. We'll see you next week. Take care. God bless.